Hey folks, I'm Dr. Hagmeyer. A common question I'm often asked almost daily is, does gluten damage my thyroid? So part of what I'm going to unpack for you today is not only how gluten can damage your thyroid, but also why gluten sensitivity is so often misdiagnosed. And lastly, if you're someone that suffers with Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroid disease or Graves' disease or hypothyroidism, why it's critical you get properly tested for gluten sensitivity. You see, this could be the difference between you going through life just being miserable and getting sicker year after year after year, or turning your life around and starting to get back on a track and a path of good health and feeling good again. One of the most biggest mistakes that I see being made in traditional medicine lies in how people are tested for gluten sensitivity. Many of you watching today's video have been tested for celiac disease and you were negative, but you were never properly tested for non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And there's a big difference, and the testing is very different. You see, gluten is a storage protein found in wheat, in barley, rye, in oats, and many other grass-bearing seeds. And the problem is that within a kernel of wheat, there are several subfractions of the gluten protein. And if you look at this illustration, you're going to notice that in this kernel of wheat, the subfractions include alpha-gliadin and beta-gliadin and gamma-gliadin and omega-gliadin and many other kinds of protein and enzymes and structures. There are two huge problems that I see when it comes to testing. Number one, most doctors will test for celiac disease, and if the test comes back negative, these patients are told that they don't have gluten sensitivity. You see, and I'm even afraid to say this, is that endocrinologists, general practitioners, and even probably 95% of GI specialists out there don't recognize non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And unfortunately, this level of thinking, this level of management, and this level of misdiagnosis leaves out the greater majority of the population that have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. People who have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, the damage caused by gluten is not in the intestines, but rather it's damaging areas like the brain, the skin, the thyroid, and many other glands and tissues of the body. And this is why you end up with neurodegenerative diseases like of the brain. This is why you end up with skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis. This is why you end up with thyroid problems like Graves' and Hashimoto's. The second problem when it comes to testing for gluten sensitivity is the failure or the error made on the practitioner who only tests their patient for the alpha-gliadin subfraction. Remember what I said earlier is that a kernel of wheat has hundreds of these gluten subfractions. You may have tested negative for the alpha-gliadin subfraction, which you see I circled here, but you may test positive for beta-gliadin or gamma-gliadin or mega-gliadin or any of these other subfractions. Again, this could be one of the missing links needed to unravel your health mystery. Remember, if you look at this illustration again, I want you to notice that these are the other subfractions that an individual may have an immune system reaction to. You see, your body could respond to gluteomorphin, casomorphin, prodynorphin, or wheat germ agglutinin. And this might also explain why eating nightshades or lentils or nuts pose a problem for you. I recently started working with a young woman who recently was diagnosed with MS. She was experiencing problems where areas of her vision were dark, they were spotted, they were blurry. This actually obviously prompted her to go to an eye doctor who, upon examination, then referred her to a neurologist who ran an MRI and diagnosed her with the early stages of MS. One of the things we wanted to do with her, obviously, was work on her diet. No other doctor was really doing that with her, and obviously that's the foundation from where all health, sickness, and disease starts. She had a terrible diet. Every morning she was starting out with oatmeal. Her diet was loaded with wheat and gluten and corn. And so take a look at this study. This is a fairly recent study. It just came out. It's from 2013. If you read the abstract, this is what it says. It says gluten-related disorders are a spectrum of immune-mediated conditions that occur at any age. Celiac disease and gluten sensitivity are associated with autoimmune diseases such as MS and neuromyelitis optica. Neuromyelitis optica is when the immune system begins to damage the myelin of the nerves in the eye, which causes the blurriness and the loss of vision. It goes on to say that treatment with a gluten-free diet can provide considerable benefits to patients with gluten-related disorders and these two demyelinating diseases of the central nervous system. So here again, I want to encourage you that diet just has a profound impact on your health. So now that you understand a little bit more about the proper testing of gluten, what about the connection of this gluten consumption and thyroid disease? All right, so the connection between gluten and thyroid disease has really been circulating around the medical literature and nutritional literature for years. But it's only recently that we're starting to see an increased amount of scrutiny on the effects of gluten and thyroid health. Okay, so what's the connection between the two? Well, gluten, as mentioned earlier, contains gliadin, and gliadin is foreign to the human body. In other words, when your immune system comes in contact with it, your immune system doesn't like it. When it's ingested, it initiates an immune system reaction, an immune system response in both individuals who not only have celiac disease, but more importantly, for the purpose of today's video, people who have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So if you're like most people, maybe you think that gluten sensitivity is a fad. You might be thinking, well, Dr. Hagmeyer, we've all been eating grains for, 10,000 years. Why is it that we're only hearing about these grains and the problem and the diseases that they cause now? Well, there are several reasons. But the number one reason is that the wheat that our ancestors ate resembles nothing of the wheat as you know it today. Throughout the years, wheat has been extensively cultivated. It's become genetically modified. And the gliadin content has been magnified 100-fold by the manipulation of wheat genetics. In other words, there is more gluten in a kernel of wheat today than there was 50, 100, 20, 30, even 20, 30, or 40 years ago. So in the case of damage to the thyroid, what it often comes down to, and maybe you've heard this, is a case of mistaken identity, meaning that the molecular structure of gliadin and the transglutaminase enzyme closely resembles that of the thyroid gland. What happens is when gliadin breaches the protective barrier of the gut and it enters the bloodstream, it now can attach to the thyroid where the immune system tags it for destruction. And in the process of your immune system attacking the gliadin, it also begins to attack the thyroid tissue. This means if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, as long as you keep eating these foods, your immune system will continue attacking your thyroid gland. And there's several studies that show that people who continue to eat gluten need more thyroid medication, and that's the reason why. For many people who don't think eating gluten is a big deal, let's say you only have an occasional, you cheat maybe once a week, or you eat gluten, only at times when, you get together with your friends for a birthday or something. Well, what you may not realize is that each time you have gluten, you've just flared up your immune system for another 6 months. Some studies show longer, 6 to 12 months. But either way, you're flaring up your immune system. If you think about that for a second, think about the effects that could have on your health and how it might promote additional diseases or health challenges down the road. So for many people who reach out to my office, they say they're on a gluten-free diet. And one of the things I always have patients do is I have them complete a 7-day food journal for me. And it becomes very clear that they're really not gluten-free. So the point worth reiterating here is that there's no such thing as a cheat day. Being mostly gluten-free isn't going to cut it. And so I'm talking to not only those of you who are not my patients, I'm going to make that statement to all of my existing patients who might be also watching this video. Being mostly gluten-free doesn't cut it. Now, another mistake often seen is when a person works with nutritionists or dietitians is that they think they can eliminate gluten for 30 days. And then they can reintroduce it. And if they don't have symptoms, it must be okay, right? Don't make this mistake. Again, work with a doctor who really understands the severity of gluten sensitivity, understands how to test you for it, and isn't going to be doing silly elimination tests with something this severe. This could make the difference for you. And remember, if you're gluten intolerant, you have to be 100% gluten-free to prevent immune destruction to your thyroid, to your brain, and to other parts of your body. I hope you liked today's video. Please be sure to share it with your friends, with your family members, people that you might know that are out there that suffer with celiac disease. Many people who have celiac disease are not on a gluten-free diet. Share it with your family and members that you care about. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can keep up to date with all the information that we want you to have. Also, if you visit my website, drhagmeyer.com, I put together a free guide to help people understand some of the hidden sources of gluten. So I'll include that in the description of this video. Okay, until next time, take care.